3 situations where you absolutely must go get a fitting for golf clubs. But hey, if it's your first time here, welcome to Better Golf Academy. My name is John. Here we're all about helping you lower your scores without changing a single thing about your swing. And by getting a golf fitting, you can actually improve your scores without changing your swing. So the first scenario where you want to absolutely go get a fitting is what I call the getting serious phase. Maybe you were handed a set of hand-me-down clubs. Maybe you got some cheapy ones because you wanted to get in the game. And now maybe you've been playing for 1 or 2 years. You've been practicing. You've been wanting to look at improving your score, and you're just ready to get something new for yourself. So last year I went with my brother-in-law. He had his dad's old clubs and he wanted to get something for himself. And also my sister went through the same thing. She had her clubs that she used since high school and she wanted to get something that matched her swing now. And most recently, me, who wanted to get new clubs as well. We'll get into that in a later scenario. Chances are the clubs you started with are not the right club for you now, especially if you've been playing a lot and you've been improving. You know, without getting into the technical details, you want to get a club head that matches your playing level, and then you want to get a shaft that matches your swing. And so I would highly, highly recommend to trust a trained professional, someone whose job it is to look at your swing and your dynamics and where you hit the ball, how you miss, and fit you with the equipment that most matches your dynamic and what you want out of your game. They are experts for a reason. And then you don't have to go through with a purchase at the place you're getting your fitting. In fact, I wouldn't recommend it if you're trying to save money. I would recommend going on eBay, going on Second Swing, and getting that set that matches your swing. It doesn't have to be top of the line unless you want to go for that. It doesn't have to be the latest set even. I mean, golf clubs don't change too much year over year or even 2 years over 2 years. I would highly recommend getting a fitting, getting familiar with what kind of club head you want and what kind of shaft you need. And then, just go online and get the set online. The second scenario I would recommend getting a golf fitting is what I call the getting stale phase. So maybe you've been playing golf for now several years, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and you've been practicing, you've been working on your game, and you've just kind of plateaued. You're just kind of flat, and you maybe need a spark. Maybe you've taken a few lessons over the years and just like, it just isn't feeling right. You're confident your swing is getting you 80% of the way there, but maybe you're just always missing slightly left, or maybe you're always leaving the club just a little open and you're missing short right most of the time. And so this is a time where, assuming you've gotten some lessons and you've been practicing, that maybe your equipment could use a refresh. Maybe your angles for your clubs have gotten a little bit out of sync. Maybe your swing speed has gotten faster. So with all these dynamics, a club fitter can kind of evaluate your game from a bird's eye view. They're not emotionally vested in your equipment and the stuff you use. They'll be able to tell like, oh yeah, you'll need to flatten out your club or raise it a little bit, or, maybe your lofts are off, right? So this would be a great time where I would just, as a double check, while a club fitter would love to sell you a new set of golf clubs and possibly earn commission from it, you don't have to go in wanting to buy new clubs. But in a perfect world, the club fitter will be there and have your best interest in mind. They'll be able to check out your equipment, and, they do this for a living. So they'll be able to tell like, oh yeah, your irons are a little off. You might want to try this one. You don't have to buy this today or even this year, but just keep in mind, like, you might want to consider this, or you might want to consider a shaft that is softer at the tip, right? So if you're getting stale, if you're just plateauing, like things just aren't clicking and it's been like that for a while, then I would highly recommend you to just go get a fitting. And also I say a few years because golf tech, yes, it does change every 2 years or every whatever the cycle is for releasing new clubs. But also if you haven't gotten your stuff checked out in 5 years, chances are that in 5 years or 7, or call it even 10, I haven't changed my clubs for like 20 years. So for me, it makes a big difference. But call it, 10 years, you'll be able to just try out the latest tech, and then you'll be able to see for yourself like, oh yeah, this actually makes a difference, or no, my stuff is great. And then at least you'll know. 2 examples of this. Last year, I went for a driver fitting because the driver I was using was 20 years old, and I wanted to just try out like the newest, latest technology and see if it actually made a difference. I knew that I was potentially using a club that was a little bit too soft for me, stiff flex when I needed extra stiff. And so I was like, what the heck, just spend $50 and it'll be a cool experience. And yeah, I found that the shaft I was using was not optimal for me. Not only that, the length was not optimal for my height, and the fitter was able to do all these things and tweak the club settings so that it matched me. And lo and behold, I did start hitting it straight. So that was cool because I didn't know if I wanted to go with a Titleist TSR or a TaylorMade QI10. And after that fitting, I was sure what model worked best for me. And not only that, what shaft worked the best for me for my ball flight. I ended up not buying a club from that shop because they didn't have it in stock, and it was actually cheaper on secondswing.com. By the way, this is not sponsored. Second Swing is great with their return policy. But yeah, for me, I wanted to know at the time, should I go with the latest and greatest TSR, or is a TSI good enough? And I ended up going with the TSR and wouldn't have been able to do that if it weren't for Second Swing's return policy. Another example of this getting stale phase is that I got new irons last year, the Tacomos, and I've been trying them out. And, I thought that that would kind of up-level my game a little bit. And it did. In some regards, it made me hit a lot more solid shots, and it just feels so solid. But at the same time, and this was a problem I had with my old irons as well, I tend to pull my shots, like all my irons, my pitching wedge, like everything would go 5 to 10 yards left. And yes, that could be a lie adjustment. Maybe I need to flatten my clubs. But also I went to a fitting this week, and the club fitter mentioned that I was right between the stiff and extra stiff option. And so, I play Dynamic Gold S300s in my set right now, which are stiff. And ultimately, I ended up going with an X100, which is extra stiff. It's shipping here next week. I'm so stoked to put them on and go try them out. Which leads me to my third and final situation or scenario where you definitely want to go get a fitting, which is the looking to spice things up situation. So you're ready to pull the trigger on something. You just know in your mind that you want to try something. My sister fell squarely in this category where she tried Strixons, TaylorMades, and I think Titleist, and ultimately she decided to go with the QI10 with TaylorMade. Most recently for me, in the example where I wanted to get extra stiff shafts is, you watch all these videos online, you do all this research on forums, but you can't get that feeling of what it actually feels to hit the ball. And so for me, I was in between the X100 and the Project X 6.5. I am slightly biased towards Project X because that's what I ended up getting in my driver and my woods. But at the same time, my irons are True Temper Dynamic Gold, which makes the X100 make a lot of sense. So at some point, when you're in this phase, you just can't research anymore. Maybe you can even feel at peace that both options would work well for you. Well, guess what? It's time to get a fitting. So I went into the shop, was straight up with him, was like, hey, I'm just looking to get new shafts for my irons. I don't want to change my Tacomo heads. I want to try the X100 and the Project X 6.5. And by the way, you're the expert, so maybe it's not a matter of getting stiffer shafts. Maybe it's a matter of getting heavier shafts. Like, you do your thing. Please fit me with the best shaft option you have available. I'm not married to my idea. Like, you're the expert. I was really fortunate to get a good fitter at Putts Golf. He was super scientific, and it really jived with me. First, we started with an S300 to just get a baseline, just make sure that his S300, which he knows like how it should perform, matches how my 7-iron should perform. And so we did that, and yep, sure enough, it started going left. And then he started playing around with different things, right? Went from the S300 to an S400, so same flex, just a little heavier shaft, still pulling it to the left. And then we went with True Temper X100, which I was spot on. Try the Project X 6.0 because maybe the 6.5 was a little bit too much. That kept going left. And I tried the KBSC taper, something that I kind of wanted to try in the back of my mind, but and he was like, yeah, you're here, you might as well try, right? So just a great way to try. Like, where else are you going to try different brands of shafts, right? You can't. Like that. This is why I'm saying you got to spice it up. You got to go get a fitting. I love two things about this process. The first thing is that the fitter helps you look at your data and your metrics and kind of tell you like what's best in terms of the metrics, right? In terms of descent angle, in terms of apex height, in terms of dispersion, right? So, for me, the X100 and the Project X 6.5 was neck and neck in terms of all those figures, right? The numbers didn't really set one shaft apart from another. But the kicker was that at the end of the fitting, when, after he was like, all right, man, how do you feel? How are you feeling with this one, with that one? And I was like really unsure. I was like, with the X100, it just feels easy, like it feels like I don't have to change my swing at all. with the Project X 6.5. Also, could do no wrong. But with the 6.5, I felt like I just had to try a little harder. And what sealed the deal for me was, at the very last line the fitter said was, "You look way more comfortable swinging that X100." And then after that, I was like, I just threw the club out and I was like, done. Let's order it. So when you're ready to pull the trigger and you're deciding between 2, 3, maybe even 4 different models of anything, right? Driver heads, shafts, whatever. Go get that fitting. Most of the time, from what I've heard, is you pay a fee for the fitting, and then if you end up buying the club from the store, that fee goes towards the purchase of your clubs. For this case, I paid the fee. I went to get the fitting, but for other reasons, I ended up ordering on eBay. And yeah, I can't wait till my X100s come in. So I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to drop it in the comments section down below. And hey, if you have a story you want to share about a fitting and how it changed your life, please feel free to share it in the comments section down below. Make it a great day. Be awesome. Bye for now.